motive, James Neil Fox, was to go to your page and annoy you. To demonstrate that you are not above being annoyed, and so it is all your ego for you. That way I hope to show your viewers that you are simply not qualified to talk about Beelzebub's tales to his grandson. And now the way you mock me in video after video shows your emotional age, that the talented James Neil Fox is just some middle-aged teenager, for God's sake.
Yeah, right. This is when I start showing people like you to the door, so to speak. I just don't want you around.
But I'm right outside that door, James Neil Fox, hoping you'll realize how much you do need me.
So that is you in the car parked outside, the guy with the binoculars?
You spotted me?
No, but the girl taking a shower in room 12 called the cops. I want to get back to the decoding of Beelzebub's tales to his grandson. But this thing with the troll, the energy I'm having about it is...
Yes, the troll. The Lucifer series has a troll who creates different accounts to get past the fact that he is continually blocked by our producer, Neil Fox. He does not just come under different names and different pretexts. He comes as different people. There is no reconciling the bright, friendly, humorous personality that he can affect with the spaced-out, blundering pothead or the pompous, Gurdjieffian fundamentalist snob personality. After a while, it all rings false. It does not add up because very little of it is entirely on the level. This suggests someone highly manipulative who has a fear of giving away very much about himself. And yet one need know nothing else about him than that he must be a highly manipulative person who has a fear of giving away very much about himself. But what has this to do with the subject of suffering? Simple. The troll suffers deeply to be the way he is. Now, what is suffering exactly in terms of the philosophy espoused by the Lucifer series? Well, literature regarding the Four Noble Truths of the Buddha would have it that suffering is dukkha, which is a Sanskrit word usually translated into English as suffering. But dukkha, while it certainly means suffering, is rooted in the idea of disturbance. It connotes a potter's wheel that is wobbly and squeaky. Originally it meant a bad axle hole for a wheel, causing a wagon to ride in a distressingly uneven manner. Suffering, you might say, is a bumpy ride, the opposite of a smooth sail. How does the First Noble Truth pin this down in human experience? It is nothing if not specific. Dukkha is birth, the same as decay is dukkha, as is death. Sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Meanwhile, all along the way, there is often the frustration that comes of not getting what one wants. Sound familiar? Could it be, my friends, that you are no strangers to dukkha?
This is the one book on Buddhism that I have and keep and refer to by edited by Dwight Goddard, who brings a lot of different Buddhist scriptures together and condenses them. And my emphasis would be the Four Noble Truths, and the first Noble Truth is about dukkha. All right. And coincidentally enough, the troll the closest he ever came to having a position with me was to talk about suffering. He talked about intentional suffering, which is you put yourself in uncomfortable situations and get over your reaction and reflex to it, and smooth over being at the mercy of those situations, particularly for in Beelzebub, for the disapproval of others. That tends to be such a strong factor in how we behave. Okay, so you put yourself in situations where you're under someone's disapproval, and you become, impervious to it after a while. The more you're out there, all right, the more I would hope it's not just sucking in your gut and grinning and bearing it, but I think for a lot of people that's all it really is. I've talked about that. I don't think that's really getting there at all with it.
Now, as far as our troll goes, considering that he displays every characteristic of one who will not show his face, that he makes argumentative comments that he declines to elaborate upon in any manner that one could be expected to rationally counter, that he deliberately annoys and proudly announces that the annoyance is somehow a spiritual test, that he appears to have been originally driven by some petty vendetta about having had his comments blocked when Fox found his attitude toward Lucy a bit disparaging, that his attitude toward Fox and one of our viewers has been insufferably patronizing, that this person who lectures about emotional maturity is committed to antics that have included agreeing with his own comments under an alternate name, and even heaping lavish praise on Fox under other alternate names, as if Fox is not going to see through it and recognize it for the private mockery that it is. That this individual's ability to ingratiate is further hamstrung by his apparent inability to listen very well, which finds him disagreeing over points that no one actually made one way or another. Considering all of this, and then taking into account that this individual's only remark about suffering should be about intentional suffering, is indeed curious. As any observer would get the impression that, frankly, this is a personality who has suffered much to be as shrunken into himself as he appears to be. So what need would someone like this have to add to the suffering that is already there in the first place?
I've been in touch with someone I'll call Elisheva. That's her Hebrew name. I won't use her real name. And Elisheva off and on has caused herself suffering. She's intentionally, consciously caused herself suffering because she felt her life needed some shaking up. So she's had 2 periods in her life where she's done this to herself. It wasn't in the name of Gurdjieff one way or another. It was just something she felt compelled to do. And she was talking about it on YouTube, and I was watching and listening, and I really got a kind of intuitive gut feeling and impression that, the second time around was about to go as bad as it had the first time, because it just gets away from a person, and it's not a good thing to do to yourself, especially well, I won't go into the details, but people do this, and they do this to themselves. A certain kind of personality will. I don't know if the troll does or not. I don't care so much of what he's about as an act, but I know that she was doing this to herself. And I would say to her, or to anyone given to this kind of thing, consider the troll, all right? This guy's got issues, okay? He's got baggage. Why would he add to the suffering that's already there by going out there and looking for more? The only reason he would is to take his mind off the core suffering that defines him, the suffering he doesn't want to look at. That's the only reason he'd go looking for suffering, is to take his mind off what he doesn't really want to look at. And the big question is, what is it he doesn't want to look at? What is the troll's secret pain?
We will talk about the troll's secret pain some other time. Until then, please understand that the Lucifer series usually deflects trolls routinely and quite casually. We focus on this one for very particular reasons to do with pointing some things out for our viewers. The troll, you see, tends to very consciously attempt to personify the voice in any of you out there that says you are inadequate, that you are not enough, that you can never hope to make it in life, that there is in you something so false, so counterfeit, that a keen eye sees right through it, and if by chance there is, some slim hope of actually getting anywhere with anything that might mean something to you, you need to make the troll your teacher, your master, and let him condescend to show you the way. He has actually taken this tone with Fox. What has this to do with you, dear friends? Well, it has everything to do with you, including your interest in what you call magic or the craft. Clearly, we know from talking to some of you that you already know some things you can pull off and other things completely elude you, usually very important things. It is about energy, about what Vedantic philosophy calls prana and what the Chinese call their qi. Your many rituals and dress-up are only countenanced by the Lucifer series because such helps consolidate tribal identity and thus serves to recreate your culture. On a personal front, though, your practices only matter if they help you summon prana to your advantage. And what is always the main obstacle to this, often the only obstacle, is your inner troll, my friends. The voice in each of you that says you just don't cut it, you're nobody, you are nothing. And if you wish to exorcise this pest, well then, you have certainly come to the right place. Beelzebub is not called Lord of the Flies for nothing. What attracts the flies is a huge steaming pile of manure called karma. Your own karma. The world's karma. Maybe in our case here with our own little troll, it might well be YouTube's karma. Whatever. We only know that a very special brand of karma has brought our own very special troll our way. And he begs by way of his actions to be the poster boy for all trolls everywhere. Indeed, his actions beg to represent the voice in each of you that holds you back and makes of life one ongoing manipulation and humiliation and failure after another. Yes, there is worse suffering in the world than to be ruled by this trollish voice in the back of your mind. But I assure you that if you are the sort to concern yourself with the ravages ahead for this planet, you would be in a better position to cope with it without that voice. You're doing everyone a favor to rid yourself of it. Everyone but those like our troll who rely on exploiting that voice to assume a sense of superiority over you and the furtive hope of controlling you. But you are no citizen of this galaxy to allow yourself to be bullied by a mere fly. If you are not at least master of a fly, what then are you master of? Certainly not master of yourself. Certainly no child of Lucifer.